It's the little connection at the bottom of the tongue that connects the bottom of the tongue to the floor of the mouth. You see it right there? That's the lingual frenulum. It would be also this. We have the same thing, and they occasionally will cut that if it's too tight in the human, because that condition is called tongue-tied. Allows for more movement of the tongue, better articulation. Esophagus, of course, the esophagus is going to set underneath the trachea. You can see it right here. I kind of separate the tissue. This is esophagus here, and that's trachea right there. So you haven't separated yet, but it's really easy to do. So there you go. There it is. Parietal peritoneum. All right, you already know that. Parietal peritoneum is going to be the peritoneum that lines the inside of the abdominal cavity. This would be parietal peritoneum. Parietal peritoneum. Visceral peritoneum is going to be all of the peritoneum that lines the surface of the organ. So visceral peritoneum on top of this, on top of this, on top of the stomach. Liver. So liver is pretty easy to find on this cat. Liver right there. Greater omentum. Did you guys just know? It's still intact. So the greater omentum is this little apron, little mesentery-like apron made of a double layer of the peritoneum that sets over the front of the abdominal contents, and it hangs down from this, basically from the stomach, but it does accumulate fat. That's its function, basically, is to accumulate fat. So when we have an increase in visceral fat, one of the areas where we have it accumulate is, of course, in this structure. I always make the little joke that this thing contributes to Dunlop's disease as we increase the fat, because Dunlop's disease is where your belly Dunlop over your belt. Right? So there you go. Yeah. All right. Greater omentum gallbladder. Gallbladder is going to sit right here. You can see it. It's a little green on this cat. See the gallbladder right there? Gallbladder. Falciform ligament. Falciform ligament is nothing more than mesentery. Remember, mesentery is nothing more than peritoneum. It's a double layer. Has a double layer to it. So the falciform ligament is this ligament right here between the diaphragm and the liver. You see it? See that thing right there? It's like a sail right in the midline. Irvin, can you see it over there?
Yes.
Okay. You see it over there, Sarah, kind of? Okay. Stomach. All right, so below the liver is the stomach. So this is the stomach right here. Esophagus will tie into that, but that's the stomach. So on the stomach, we've got the cardiac region, or cardia. It's where the esophagus ties into the stomach. So the cardiac region is where, I'll say it again, the esophagus ties into the stomach. That would be this region here. The fundus is this curved portion that kind of sticks up above the cardia. The body is going to be the central portion. And then it'll transition into this narrow region right here that we call the antrum. And then finally the pylorus and pyloric sphincter is going to be, the pylorus is this area right here, the lower part of the antrum. And then the pyloric sphincter is the sphincter that separates the stomach from the first part of the small intestine, which is the duodenum. Okay. Greater and lesser curvature of the stomach, that's pretty easy. This is the greater curvature, and then the inside curve is the lesser curvature. Lesser omentum. So the lesser omentum, so this is the greater omentum, right? This big apron. The lesser omentum connects the liver to the stomach. So this is lesser omentum right here. That's lesser omentum. All right. Pancreas. All right, we've already talked about pancreas. You already know pancreas. Pancreas is in the curve of the duodenum. So the first part of the small intestine is the duodenum. There's the curve of the duodenum. It's only a foot long in humans, so it's not very long in cat, maybe about that long. But the pancreas is that glandular tissue that sets right there. So if I put my finger back there, you can see the blue. So this is duodenum, this is pancreas, and my finger is some more mesentery. My finger is. Okay? Spleen. Spleen is easy. Spleen kind of sets off to the left of the greater omentum. So that's spleen right there. Spleen has a very similar consistency to the liver. In fact, if you have to remove the spleen, the liver will do what the spleen did. So that's spleen right there. So liver, spleen. Common bile duct. We're really probably not going to see that, but what happens is we've got, because it's all still connected in here, you can see if you look very carefully, you can see going from the gallbladder down into the duodenum. Now that green thing there is going to be common bile duct, but I won't have you know that on the cat. We might have you know it on a diagram. It's going to go from the liver down into the duodenum. The reason why we won't have you know it on the cat is because when we start getting in here, we'll destroy some of the vessels, and that includes the hepatic portal vein that you're already familiar with. Remember, hepatic portal vein goes from the intestines up to the liver to drain digested material that's coming from the small intestines into the liver to be processed. So let's see. Cyrus, can you flip the page for me? So we have three parts to the small intestine. The first part is the duodenum. If you look at this, it all looks the same. Okay? The last part is the ileum. So this is the beginning of the large intestine. So this right there, the last part, is the ileum right there. So here's what we might do on the test. We might tag the first part, and you tell us it's the duodenum. We might tag the last part, you would tell us it's the ileum. But it's only, everything looks the same. What I mean by that is macroscopically it looks the same. The only way to tell really the difference between the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum is microscopically. They provide some slightly different functions. So, if we grabbed in this area, you'd say jejunum. If we grab here, we'd say duodenum. If we grab down here where it ties into the large intestine, we would say ileum. You with me? Mesentery. Mesentery is simply just a double layer of peritoneum, as we said before. So all of these small intestines are connected to the back wall via the mesentery, the double layer membrane. Mesentery is also where the blood vessels will travel. They travel in the sandwich mesentery to get to the small and large intestines. So the next thing you got is the colon. Now the colon is divided into, in a human, if we look at the colon in a human, we start out first with the cecum, then it goes ascending colon, then it goes across to transverse colon, then descending colon, and then it's kind of has an S shape, which is the sigmoid colon, down into the rectum and anus. So it goes up like this, goes across, goes down, curly Q a little bit of an S curve, and then rectum and anus. That's a human. In the cat, it doesn't have that more square shape to it. It's got more of what I always call, this is my little deal, is a comma, not a comma, a question mark. So if you look at the cat, the way it sets up in a cat, this is all small intestine. This is large intestine right here. It actually sets inside the cat, kind of like this, more like a question mark. So the first part right there is the cecum. Then this is ascending colon right there, transverse colon, then descending colon, and then sigmoid colon is in here, and then rectum and anus. And you're saying, well, why is it not a little S shape to this? Remember, we're dealing with a dead structure. In living tissue, this is going to be constantly moving. We know that because if you listen to your bowel sounds, you're going to hear sounds in your stomach, you'll hear sounds in your small and large intestine, because these are constantly moving. But in these dead animals, of course, then it just more looks like a straight line, doesn't it? But it's not. It sets like this in living tissue, more like a question mark. Okay? So again, cecum the first part, ascending colon there, transverse colon, descending colon here, sigmoid colon kind of in this spot, and then rectum and anus. Rectum is the lower part. Anus where it transitions to the outside environment. And then visceral peritoneum, we said that before. That's all of the peritoneum that's covering all of these organs. Okay? Liver, stomach, spleen, pancreas, small, large intestines. Covers all of them. Any questions? All right, so the TA